Hello, I'm Wiseman Tanofsky, and this is the first installment of WMTop 10, where I list my top 10 favourite somethings of something I like and tell you all why, because opinions are cool and it's good to express and discuss them. Today, for my first ever top 10 list, we'll be taking a look at a show I only a year or so ago encountered, that being Game of Thrones, which has quickly become one of my favourite television shows of all time, gripping, intense, and full of fantastical fluff. Thrones has broadened my perception of fantasy in ways I could never have anticipated. The one thing I love about it more than anything is its amazing range of characters. Indeed, this show is one of the most character-driven stories I've ever encountered, and no one appreciates good character more than me. So today I'll be counting down my top 10 favourite Game of Thrones characters. Now, I just want to remind everyone that this is purely opinion-driven, hence why I say favourite and not best. My opinion is my own, yours is your own. Feel free to share it below, but always respect that no one's opinion is wrong. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 10, Lord Peter Baelish. I was considering giving this position to Varys, the Master of Whispers, largely due to the immense amount of sass and how much he gets away with around such dangerous people. But following the death of King Joffrey in Season 4, I found a new respect for Lord Baelish that I otherwise hadn't had. From a backstory point of view, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the man who comes from nothing, building his own house, creating his own sigil, working his way first into the small council, and then into position to seize wardenship of the North. Baelish is a cunning and masterful manipulator who knows what he wants, and what he wants is everything. He knows how to control those in power and how to keep his own head while tangling with the likes of Joffrey and Cersei. He would burn the kingdom to the ground if he could be king of the ashes, and that ambition grants him the number 10 spot on my list. Number 9, Samwell Tarly. Another position I originally held for another, the number 9 spot was intended for Ramsay Bolton, for the sadistic joy he delivers in his performance. But then last week's episode just had to happen, and the tubby, lovable Night's Watchman finally earned my respect. Shut out by his own family and banished to the wall, there's something innocent in Tarly's character which I find very easy to like in a world of liars and killers. And of course, he's the Night's Watchman who single-handedly took down a White Walker, not to mention managing to escape from the midst of the army of the dead itself. I've enjoyed revisiting his character's beginnings as I watch the series through again, and I'll continue to enjoy it as the show goes on. Number 9 goes to the doughy guy. Number 8, Lady Olenna Tyrell. When this character was first introduced, I wasn't expecting much, but my gods, did she ever surprise me. The witty and sharp-tongued Queen of Thorns delivers everything her appellation suggests, bashing heads with Cersei, the Faith, and even Tywin Lannister. Her scenes are some of the most entertaining in any episode. As the head of the Tyrell family, a position rarely attributed to an old woman in Westeros, she knows the value of her house and how much what they bring to the metaphorical and literal table of the land is worth, using it to not only secure her family's position in the world, but even indirectly threatening and directly insulting those in power. She's the grandmother we'd all love to have at a family party. Lady Olenna gets the number 8 spot. Number 7, Khal Drogo. When I first started watching the show, Khal Drogo soon became my first favourite character, after I was warned by my brother not to get too attached to Viserys Targaryen, and my own cinema experience warned me not to get too attached to Eddard Stark for obvious reasons. And as my first true favourite character, I was expecting to enjoy him for many episodes to come. Alas, this was not to be, as he soon became the first favourite character I lost to cruel writing. But in any case, this does not detract at all from the sheer manly awesomeness that is the leader of the Dothraki. A powerful force to be reckoned with who speaks exclusively in gobbledygook. I would have loved to see his army rampage through Westeros, cutting down all in their path. But then again, if he hadn't have died, we wouldn't have got our 3 dragons. So for all his awesomeness and the sheer power, Khal Drogo gets himself the number 7 spot. Number 6, Daenerys Targaryen. Dany is a bit of a strange case. As many people's favourite, she soon became mine during Season 2 and held a lot of my love and respect through Season 3. Breaking free from her brother, learning the hard truths of the world by losing husband Drogo, and then embarking on her own personal quest to free the slaves of the East before claiming the West. She took her partner's place as my favourite character, right up until Season 4 when she just sort of stopped doing anything. Instead sitting on the throne of Meereen, having people moan at her, locking up her dragons for being dragons, and ultimately grinding into a halt in terms of interest. Now, she has maintained her place on this list because of the events of Season 5 thus far, but if she's going to claw her way back up the list, I want to see a little bit more Targaryen from her. For now, she sits happy at number 6. Number 5, Tyrion Lannister. Surprised? You shouldn't be. Another fan favourite falls short on my list, if you'll pardon the pun. While the imp has been massively entertaining throughout the whole series, earning himself a midpoint on my top 10, he's the main character. I'm supposed to like him. As the youngest son of Tywin Lannister, it was great to see him living the life of luxury before losing all of it and having to start all over from scratch. He's witty, he's funny, he's very clever, managing to worm his way out of certain death time after time, simply refusing to let the world destroy him, and I can't help but respect the sheer amount of tenacity he shows each week. He's one of the few good people in the world, and he just so happened to be born into a family of monsters. Ironic, really. He's a lot of fun to watch, and he finds himself on the halfway point of my top 10. Tyrion Lannister, everybody. Number 4, Bronn of the Blackwater. Now, here was a character I loved from the get-go. From the very first moment he appears, Bronn brought a sharp and cynical sense of humour to a world of chaos, and I loved him for that. An integral part of the siege of King's Landing and locking horns with everyone from the King's Guard to the Bloody Hound. Bronn was Tyrion's bodyguard, counsel and friend from the start. I think I enjoy him so much because he's just a regular guy caught up in the politics of a world at war, just trying to make his way. He sells his sword and he's the best at what he does, while also being awesome in the process. His witty retorts, his singing, his way with the ladies and with a sword all make him a darn entertaining character, and that's what this top 10 is all about. Bronn of the Blackwater claims himself the number 4 spot on my list. Number 3, Arya Stark. This girl surprised me. As the only Stark you'll find on this list for various boring reasons I won't get into, Arya started out as everything I hate about children in shows and films like this. The bratty little girl who wants to be a knight. It's like Quest for Camelot all over again. But once her father's head comes off, Arya changes. It's like the reality of the world suddenly becomes clear to her, and she realizes that if she wants something, she has to get it herself. Matching wits with Tywin, cursing the names of those who've wronged her while watching her world get torn apart one family member at a time. Arya has had some of the best character development in the show, and her story is so easy to become invested in. You want to see her get her revenge. And even though her list of names is slowly growing shorter, you want to see her take them out, just to show how badass she really is. The little girl from Winterfell gets herself the number 3 spot. Number 2, Sandor the Hound Clegane. Another example of great character development, the Hound starts out as nothing more than Joffrey's mad dog, with his brother the Mountain being similar, but worse. And while it's fun to see a seemingly inanimate killing machine on the battlefield cutting people in half, it's really when he goes rogue that the Hound got my attention. Turning his back on the Lannisters and setting out on his own, he comes across Arya Stark, and the two share the most mismatched pairing in the show. Starting out as hostage and captor, but slowly developing into a watchful protector as time went on. As we learn more about his tragic backstory and the truth about how he got those scars, he becomes an iconic anti-hero of the story, standing guard over this tiny scrap of innocence the world has left. To be honest, the only reason Brienne of Tarth isn't on this list is because she effectively took the Hound out of the game, and I can't help but resent her for that. The mad dog turned protector of innocence earns himself the number 2 spot on the list. And my number 1 favourite Game of Thrones character is Lord Tywin Lannister. This should come as no surprise to people who follow my channel. I've mentioned Game of Thrones twice before now, and the second time was an entire tribute video to the Warden of the West. The ironic thing is, when I was fawning over Daenerys or being consumed by the awesomeness of Drogo in Season 1, I barely noticed Tywin. I didn't even pick up on the number of times his name was mentioned before he even appears. But when he rode his horse into the Red Keep to accept the position of Hand of the King, letting his steed take an almighty dump on the steps, I finally started to pay attention to him, and what a character. There is something about a character who can inspire fear even in absence. When he's not around, people are talking about him, and when he is around, everyone stays out of his way. Even Joffrey finds himself on the receiving end of that death glare once or twice. No one dares to cross Tywin Lannister, No one makes a move which might incur his wrath, because all of Westeros knows that a Lannister always pays his debts, and Tywin is the one who brought an even darker meaning to that phrase with the extermination of House Rayne. The most powerful man in Westeros may be gone, but his legacy remains. How many houses have finally come out of hiding and started to make their moves simply because of the fact that he's not around anymore to send a minstrel with a harp into their halls and force them back into line? Lord Tywin, son of Tytos of House Lannister, Lord of Casterly Rock and Warden of the West, and my #1 favourite Game of Thrones character. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave your own opinions in the comments. I've been Wiseman Tanofsky. This has been WM Top 10. I'll see you next time.